Hi, I'm Joe Roth. At New Jersey Sharing Network, we're committed to saving and enhancing people's lives through organ and tissue donation and informing people about our life-saving mission. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Overcoming addiction and finding recovery next on Caucus, New Jersey.
Funding for this edition of Caucus, New Jersey has been provided by the Russell Berrie Foundation, Fedway Associates, the Fidelco Group, Hackensack Meridian Health, New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation. Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State. And by Verizon. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and NorthJersey.com. And by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association.
Welcome to Caucus. I'm Steve Adubato. Overcoming addiction is clearly difficult, but recovery is possible, and there are people who can and do help. Joining us in the studio are 4 individuals working every day to make a big difference in the lives of those who are trying to recover. Lisa Gladwell is chair of New Jersey Recovery Advocates. Brenda Antonor is director of She Has a Name Ministry. Rachel Molesky is founder and executive director of Operation Chill Out. And finally, Bonnie O'Brien is executive director, Transition Professionals. I want to thank all of you for joining us. And we'll say this, we're doing this in cooperation with the Berrie Foundation. And all of you are, in fact, Russ Berrie honorees, awardees for making a difference. And we'll talk more about that as the show goes on. But all of you are connected to the question or the challenge of addiction and the effort to recover. We talked at last year's Berrie Awards, and I was struck by my conversation with you because your story is a powerful one. Brenda, talk about your organization and how it started.
The Ministry of She Has a Name started really as a result of a personal implosion. In my life, I was a high school health teacher, and my husband was an attorney, and back in the early 90s, we found ourselves in serious marital disarray, which led my husband into South Camden, got turned on to crack cocaine, and the rest, as they say, is history. And what was so powerful about that experience, because we were being put aside by everyone in the community.
Shunned?
Shunned completely. I mean, you know, community, professional people that we had known our entire life. And we had a few family members that stuck by us but had no real understanding of where we were. And God actually placed a neighbor in my backyard who didn't know me and began to extend simple kindnesses to me because I was so filled with guilt and shame. When I had that moment of clarity and I looked in the mirror, I was like, how did I get here? And I didn't know how to get out. And so when I felt the guilt and the shame, I couldn't find forgiveness anywhere. I just was like, well, I just got to use because I just can't feel this way. And we have a blended family. We have 6 children. So there was just a lot during that time. And to have someone come alongside me first, and then my husband, and then eventually my entire family, my children, and not judge me, but extend love and kindness to me was like, it gave me hope that my life could change, because we went through the process. I mean, they took my teaching license. My husband was disbarred. So our livelihoods were crippled. I mean, I would go about the community and, you know, it was always like, is somebody going to make eye contact with me or are they not? Most of the time they didn't want to make eye contact with me because I think they felt uncomfortable. And
excuse me for interrupting, because the story is even more complicated, I'm sure. How do you go from that to the organization you found to make a difference for others?
Right. So burden going into the Ministry of Seeds of Hope is a little bit, has some other reaches, but as we would go in and out of Camden for many years, and it's been a lot of years now, we've had a street presence for 12 years, moved in 3.5, almost 4 years ago, and opened our home to the women. We really coming in and out and seeing
the
women, my girls, that's what I like to call them.
Doing what professionally?
Prostitution because of addiction on Broadway, young women from the suburbs, burdened that like this could be my child. And so it simply started.
You took them in?
We went to them in where their need was, it was July, it was hot. We knew they were dehydrated, they were addicted, and we met them where they were and just began to build a relationship, and that's really how it started. Love, kindness, no judgment, and I'm not judging you.
So let's talk about this. By the way, again, each one of you are Russ Berrie awardees, and we'll put up the information because even though it's past the period of time as we're doing this program for the awards that are coming up right now, you can find out more information about how to nominate someone who you believe is making a difference, who you believe is, as Angelica Berrie likes to say, an unsung hero, not looking for attention, but making a difference. Let me ask you, Lisa, long-term recovery on your end, describe it.
It's a blessing today. A little bit about me. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and for me that means for more than 16 years I have not taken a mood-altering drink or drug. In the beginning, it was very, very difficult. The stigma that continues out there has gotten better, but it's tremendous.
Stigma's still there?
Oh, it
Describe
is tremendous. It's killing people.
Describe the stigma.
Killing people. It is folks who are judging.
About addiction?
About addiction. There are those who either because they don't think it applies to them or their family or their community, and
But it
quite
does.
frankly, it does.
Well, I'll be clear on something. Addiction is a disease.
Yes, it is.
It is, and I'm curious, if someone has cancer, if someone has diabetes, if someone has a disease, they're treated differently. They're looked at differently, correct?
Yes. Well, there is a time.
By many.
Yes.
And what does your organization do?
New Jersey Recovery Advocates, what we try and do, what we endeavor to do, we're about 4 or 5 years old. We try to educate, advocate, and celebrate recovery from addiction. What we are trying to do is let the public know that recovery is real, it is possible.
It's public awareness.
It's public
By the way, we're going to
awareness.
show some video of a walk that you have, I guess, is it annually?
Yes,
We're going
in
to show
September.
some video. Talk about
National
this
Recovery Month.
National Recovery Month is September. Go ahead.
Yes, yes. During National Recovery Month, on National Recovery Day, what we do is we have an event at Liberty State Park. We try and bring all corners of the state together. And it's not just folks with addiction issues. It is a celebration. It's an educational event. We have bands. We have a walk that is very cathartic for those who are in early recovery.
Real quick follow-up on this, and I'm going to get to Bonnie and to Ray. When you chose to take time to be treated, going to rehab, you took time off of work?
I did.
Why?
I took 3 weeks vacation from work.
Vacation time.
I took my vacation time. I was trying to get sober for a while, a number of years, and I would relapse again. My work did not know about my addiction. And my experience based on other people in my company, which was a global company,
Right.
was that they may not have known about the addiction, but once you identify yourself by taking the time off that you are entitled to as a person who's getting the help, a medical leave, then this has to do with stigma. Suddenly you become a liability. And what that is a lack of education. Again, I got sober back in 2001. Things have changed, but not entirely, not close to.
This is fascinating because I mentioned someone who has cancer, diabetes, serious illness. He or she takes time to get well, to recover. I could imagine a work or professional situation looking down upon that effort. But with the work you're doing, it's even more complicated because you're dealing with ex-offenders trying to come back into society, and many of whom are dealing with addiction issues. Talk about it. I'll come to you, Ray, I promise.
So there is a level of stigma associated with disease.
What is it, the stigma? You are what?
You are the disease. You are the disease, and that is what people are judging you on.
You're weak?
It could be a number of things.
Sorry for interrupting. Let's deal with the stereotypes. Let's deal with the myths. You are weak.
You are weak.
This is something about you.
Yes. You are
You could fix this if you wanted to. How wrong is that?
It's wrong because you can't fix it by yourself. The addiction has taken over the functioning of the brain so much that that's all you want is the drug. And nothing matters. Family, friends, employment, nothing matters. And when you combine drug addiction with the fact that many people get involved with criminal activity.
Talk about stigma.
Exactly.
Now put that together.
Exactly.
You're right.
The stigma, I believe, however, is greater if you're a criminal than if you are an addict.
Why?
People don't want to deal because of criminal behavior. They're afraid. They can't trust you.
But they can't, people don't step back and correlate that criminal behavior may have something to do with the sickness, the illness of addiction.
They don't.
They don't.
They do
don't.
not do it. You're a criminal, you've committed a crime, and that's how you're judged. Whether it be 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
How do you help them?
So what we do is we help them when they come out of jail and prison. So if you've just come out and you have no access to resources, maybe your family's abandoned you, maybe you never had family, you have no place to go. What we do is we link them to shelter, and from that point, because I believe that having a roof over your head is the most basic, fundamental thing
That's
to satisfy.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Exactly.
The first, if you don't have that, how are you supposed to deal with the other needs?
So linking them to shelter is primary.
And clothes?
Well, of course, clothing. So we give clothing. We have clothing closets for men and women, and then connecting them so that they get their documents of identification. How are they going to get a job or benefits if they have no ID?
It's huge.
That is a challenge in and of itself.
By the way, we're going to put, are we putting up the websites of each organization, just so I know, team, so folks can find out more about each organization, potentially volunteer for those organizations, help out in whatever way you can, make a difference, if you will, which is the point of this entire series on making a difference. Ray, let me ask you, you deal with veterans.
Yes, Steve. Operation Chill Out is a all-volunteer mobile outreach for homeless veterans in New Jersey. We started not far from here in the year 2000 in Dover,
We're actually taping up in northern New Jersey, so go ahead.
Yeah.
So help us understand this. What is the connection between veterans and addiction?
Homeless people as a group have tremendous obstacles and challenges. We just mentioned the Maslow's hierarchy. If you don't have clothing, sustenance, and a place to be safe, you're at the tremendous vulnerability. Addiction is an easy fix for taking the edge off. We see 1 out of every 5 homeless people in New Jersey that we encounter has military experience. They're veterans. Back in the day when we started 18 years ago, most of those homeless veterans were from the Vietnam era. Now those are the men and women who are
more women today than before.
We're seeing women veterans at almost every outreach that we do who are homeless, and some are married, some are single with children, and for one reason or another, usually economic difficulties, they lose their housing, they're on the street, they're in temporary transitional housing, they're in shelter care. What we do, Steve, we have 5 basic platforms to our organization. Again, we're all volunteer. There's no staff, no brick and mortar. We do seasonal outreach. In the winter, we pack brand new clothing in backpacks, and it goes out on the street. This year, we just finished our winter delivery. We started in November. About 2,000 people in New Jersey, Northeast Pennsylvania, and the state of Rhode Island who have Operation Chill Out functions were served with brand new clothing. In the summer, we found out through a very sad experience, one of our guys who we had been seeing in Hackensack, who was a veteran, had gotten frostbite in the winter. And by the time the summer came, his treatment for the frostbite was not working anymore. He was supposed to go to Hackensack University Medical Center to have his hands and his feet amputated because the surface frostbite went to the muscles, to the bones. He had necrosis of the bones. So to save his life, he had to be amputated. He agreed to the operation. We went to pick him up. He was DOA.
Oh my God.
Because he was asked to take topical antibiotics to get rid of any secondary infections before surgery, and he was drinking the Hackensack River water, Steve.
Oh boy.
So Operation Chill Out said in the summer we can help homeless people by giving them potable water. We bring cases of water.
By the way, to find out more about each organization, because I wish we had more time, go on each website that you see up there as well as the Berrie Foundation website that you see, to find out more, not just about these organizations, but about how to potentially nominate somebody or find out about how to nominate someone year-round for the award for making a difference. Just stay right where you are. We'll come right back right after this.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We are, in fact, talking about addiction and recovery and a whole range of related issues. I'm curious about this. I was saying as we go out to the break that I want to talk about paths to recovery, and it's got folks thinking. I'm not sure. I was thinking what works, what doesn't work. Do you question that question itself?
I wasn't sure exactly what you meant.
What appears when it comes to recovery? Because in the introduction of the program, I said people can recover. People do recover. I'm not saying it's easy at all. But what appears to be some of the things that increase the odds that someone would have a better chance on the path to recovery?
Right, staying in there with someone. So, I mean, understanding that it's not going to be a quick fix.
Hey, 30 days, you're good.
Right, because a lot of times people think that, right? So when you build a relationship and you stay alongside of somebody and they're struggling, but they know you're still in their corner and you're alongside of them, they're much more willing. Because I think the one thing that happens a lot is we just want it to stop. Right? And it's not that simple because there's so much emotional pain that drives the addiction as well. And so to really connect with somebody that way and say, I'm going to stay alongside you. And listen, and I say this to the girls all the time, when they walk out the door, when you're ready, we'll be here. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do because when they were telling me what I needed to do and I could have saved my teaching job, I wasn't ready. I just wanted everybody to get out of the house. They did an intervention.
You were not ready.
I wasn't ready, right? But there were people, and certainly you have to put some boundaries in that situation, but to stay alongside with someone and say, in that moment, and then can I safely, because I'm going to be honest about opiate addiction and heroin and what we see, this person might want to go out of state into treatment, but if they know their next bag is 3 hours away and we can't get them safely stabilized for a short period of time, I can't do that. Do you understand? I can't do that.
Is everyone, but I'm curious about this as we're listening to Brenda. Lisa, do you think everyone's different in terms of their path to recovery, the challenges of recovery?
And this is why I asked what you meant by this. I know there isn't any one way, but there are certain programs that have worked for most people. And those, for me, it happened to be, I credit my recovery to the 12-step fellowship that I belong to.
It worked for you.
It did work for me.
It
along
works
with some,
for you, because it's
yes.
always, let's be clear, it's not done.
No, it's not.
Define
it's a
what that
lifelong
means.
journey.
Talk about that.
What it is sobriety is a state. When I say that, it's like happiness, anger. It's right now I'm sober. I don't have to be sober in an hour. But recovery and what treatment does, it gets you sober. But recovery is a lifelong journey. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of living.
And what did you, again, I don't want to check off, check off these boxes and you'll be fine. I know it doesn't work that way, but what are some of the things that help you continue to recover?
For me, it's helping another person so that...
Giving to others, making a difference for others?
Absolutely. That strengthens my recovery. I am a student when I bring my experience, strength, and hope to others. I learn from them as much as they learn from me. The other thing that was very important, and to this day that I talk about in my recovery, is years ago when I was first, when I was trying to get and stay sober for a significant period of time, I was told, allow us to love you until you can learn to love yourself. And to me, that's very important. This is what Brenda was talking about with, the use and you hope for sobriety. But what causes addiction? It's a physical disease along with
Is
one
it
of
emotional
them.
and mental?
and spiritual. And it has to do with your self-worth, your sense of self-worth. It has to do, the pain that I numbed with my active use was more emotional. I didn't have a physical injury.
Stay right there. I see you shaking your head because...
What Lisa is saying is so important, because people are suffering from pain and they're numbing that pain with the use of medication or overuse of medication. And when that medication is no longer available, then they go to some other substance and use that substance to still numb the pain. So getting to the root of that pain is really important. Why are you in pain?
And that's especially difficult with ex-offenders?
Absolutely, absolutely. And what we see
Because?
now, well, because why did they commit the crime? We're not going to go out and commit a crime. Why did they commit the crime? Understanding the root of what led them to addiction. What we're doing now, and one of the answers that I wanted to give you when you said something about, when is the time, it's you have to be ready. Not everybody's ready.
Right.
Lisa was ready. Brenda was ready. You have to be ready to accept recovery in your life.
But then give advice to those who are watching right now, who appreciate that we're doing this series on making a difference, but are asking, well, how can I make a difference if I don't decide the time, as a neighbor, as a family member, as a loved one, as a friend? I don't decide the time. Lisa decides the time. Brenda decides the time.
Education.
One of the things, Steve, that we see with the men coming back from
Men and women
veterans from
Right.
military service is brain injuries as well as post-traumatic stress. Now, these are the foundation of abuse of substances, to take the edge off, to self-medicate, to give yourself a respite from the demons that are occupying your body, mind, and spirit, as we said here. Being on mission was one of the most important elements of a successful military career. When you come back and you transition to civilian life, that drops out. There's an amazing hole that occupies many of our veterans because they felt worthwhile, functional, and contributing at a significant level.
And now?
And they don't have that when they come back here. So that's why with the PTSD, the post-traumatic stress, and the brain injury,
But them being
addiction,
ready, how do you know? I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
I got a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
Well, I wish we could do 2.5 hours right now. How do you and your colleagues know?
Because many of our colleagues are them. They came. We have many veterans who work with us who are in recovery from post-traumatic distress, who are in recovery from addictive behaviors as well. We don't make this up. We're not professionals. We're all amateurs coming from the heart on our own demons that we face. So the thing is to engage our veterans into meaningful transitional life. And number one is safety. Get them off the street. Get them into temporary.
That's the beginning.
That's just the beginning.
Right, and what you said earlier, I think, is really very telling. It's a hard issue. You said, what's the root? And they're all different, right? And how do we tangibly direct people towards those things where they can get that level of care? Tough for families sometimes, right? Because the families deal with the fallout, right? My family dealt with the fallout. So what does it look like to even offer them the help they need to understand
Family
a person
members.
who's in active addiction, right? Because they don't understand it and they love the person they love.
For the homeless veterans, the family is gone. They've
Right.
rejected them
Exactly. Same
early
with
on.
people who've committed
That's
crime.
how they're gone. They can't take it anymore.
So
they
for
don't
veterans
have the
or for
skills
ex-offenders,
and the resources
family?
to put up with it.
And
A lot of have been abandoned by their families.
That's absolutely true.
They have no place to go. They have no one to talk to.
Let me do this. A minute left. This award for making a difference means what to you?
It was just a huge blessing. And I'll tell you what it was. It was a great encouragement, and to meet other people. Really, to meet the people that I've met who are in there in the trenches, like just saying, not for attention, not for just this is where I'm called to be, and I want to stay there. And I just really appreciate that you would even be willing to, expose. I mean, people need to know that there are people that care, right?
And by the way, to that point, I'm proud to host that event every year. What does it mean to you, real quick? 15 seconds or less?
that we can save lives. Maybe not. From my organization standpoint, it may not be directly where, as in a naloxone save, but we are saving lives.
Sure.
And by eliminating the stigma, people are gaining their life back.
I cannot thank all of you enough for sharing your story, for making a difference, and ultimately for caring for other people who are challenged every day and just want to live a good quality of life like the rest of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by the Russell Berrie Foundation, Fedway Associates, the Fidelco Group, Hackensack Meridian Health, New Jersey Sharing Network, Choose New Jersey, and by Verizon. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
Perfectly orchestrated. In sync with your life. Hackensack Meridian Health is redefining how health and care come together. Because when everything works together, your world gets better. Hackensack Meridian Health, life years ahead.